start. Okay. So when you're thinking about having to manage a large multi-station power grid, one of the problems you have, like in any other big organization, is that you have multiple departments with people playing multiple roles in them, and you have multiple data sources, and each of those roles, in order to perform their job efficiently, they need data that comes from those multiple data sources, and they could be using different devices to perform their job. They could be using an application running on a desktop or a mobile device, and so on. So this is the problem that we've decided to handle in this challenge. And the solution that we're providing is built using Webalo, which is the platform that we have created at our company. So Webalo provides a coherent UI experience to each role that seamlessly integrates with the different data sources available in the data grid or in any other organization. So we're going to go through a scenario that's going to show how all the required workflows have been simplified. So what we're looking at is the workspace seen by the operations manager of the data grid. You can see a dashboard showing some KPIs, showing the performance of the data grid. He can interact real time with it. He can, for example, drag and drop the current market price and show that as a KPI on the dashboard, or the current level of carbon dioxide emissions. We can also see some live charts that use data that comes from Predix time series. This is live data. It auto-updates whenever there's any change. The user can also, who's called Patrick, by the way, I'm sorry to mention that. So Patrick can also create charts on the fly. So in this chart, for example, we're going to see a breakdown of demand by station. This chart is created entirely in the user interface and can be saved and pushed to other users as well who can see the same data. So now let's go and look at one of the other charts that uses data from a Predix time series. We can see a trend in this chart between historical temperature data and demand. So we can see, for example, that whenever temperatures are low, there's an increase in demand. So Patrick would then go to the map and look at one of the stations and pull a weather forecast from some weather forecast API on the internet. So we pull data from that source, and this is happening live, as you can see, so it's going to take a few seconds, so pardon the wait. So we can see the weather forecast in that area, and we can see that in the near future that the temperatures are going to be lower than average. So then Patrick would like to make sure that the data grid will have enough capacity for the expected increase in demand. Okay. So he pulls some more detailed metrics about the stations. Here we can see a chart showing some performance metrics. And we're going to view that in tabular form to see more details. And then for one of the stations, he can see that there's a cause of concern that transmission loss is too high for one of the stations. So he decides to contact the station operator for that station. So he sends an email to Fiona, who's going to receive that email on the Webalo app running on her iPad. It's worth mentioning that both apps, the one running in the browser on the desktop and the one running on the iPad, were auto-generated by Webalo. So now we switch to Fiona, who receives the email, opens the notification of the email, which launches Webalo, she sees a different dashboard showing her the data that she's more interested in, which is specific to the station that she's operating. She sees that there's actually an issue with the station. The transmission loss seems to be high. In the meantime, Jesse, who is an engineer at that station, detects a problem with one of the transformers and reports an incident. He takes a photo of the damaged parts and enters some details about the incident and submits that to Fiona, who receives an actionable notification on her iPad. Okay. All right. So she clicks the notification and opens the Webalo again. And she's going to see a map showing all the incidents that have been recently reported in the station. Okay, so we're going to the map now. As you can see, there's also some KPIs showing the alerts that have been filed recently. So now she's going to take a look at the details of the incident. She sees the photo that was submitted. This actually went into a database that was pulled right now. And she submits a maintenance order asking for service for some of the parts. So she fills all the data and sets the target date for the service and the priority for replacing those parts. And then this is submitted to the procurement department. So now we're going to switch to another view from by the procurement manager, who's going to review the maintenance orders. He sees the order that was submitted by Fiona. He clicks on it, and he would like to make sure that he has the required parts in the inventory. If not, then he will have to order some parts. So he looks at the required parts. Again, this is coming from some other database that is maintained by the procurement department. So these are the required parts. Then he checks the inventory. He just drags that task onto his workspace, and he can see the items that he has in the inventory. Then he can match them up in the user interface, and this combines data from the two different sources and produces a list of the items that need to be ordered. He selects, he sees that he actually is lacking some items in the inventory, so he goes ahead and orders those parts. So all of this was built in less than 2 days using Webalo, which was possible through the UI generation abilities of the platform. And as you can see, we were able to use it on the desktop and on iOS, and also on Android, which wasn't part of this demo. And that's the entire workflow.
Time for questions from the judges. There's like a minute and a half left. Any of you guys have
Switch to the last slide.
Question?
Switch to the last slide. Sure.
let me-
Yes. Yeah.
How do you plan to make money as a business?
Okay.
Sorry, I have to ask this question.
Yes. So okay. So I'll try to answer that question as to the best of my. I'm more concerned with the technical aspect. I'm a software engineer, but there are different models. For example, so we are a GE partner, for instance, and we use subscription models with some of the customers who use Webalo, and some of them have been using Webalo for a number of years now, actually, to facilitate many workflows that they use, and it saves them money because they can automate a lot of their operation, and that encourages them to actually pay for using Webalo, using a subscription model or any other model.
So Webalo is used both at the edge as at the device level and then also the web application for all of this when you generate all these UIs.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it depends on your application. For some customers, it makes more sense to use it only as a mobile device. We have a customer, for example, that does inventory management using mobile devices, and the key point. Yeah, yes.
Hands up.
The-
Sorry.
Thank you.
Nice job. Thanks, guys.